All right, thank you guys so much for joining us today. My name is Chris Tinard. I'm the director of AZDroneFest. And today we're going to talk about fun with drones because really flying drones should be a fun thing first. We should have fun doing it before we start talking about all the different things that we can possibly do with the drone. So today I'm super excited to be joined by Kim and Pete, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Kim, over to you. Kind of tell us about who you are and who you work with and kind of what you do with drones.
Okay, thanks a lot, Chris. Hi, my name is Kim Reynolds, and I am a 107 certified drone pilot and co-owner of Sunrise Aerial Imaging. But my day job, I work on the youth entrepreneurship team within the J. Orrin Edson Entrepreneurship and Innovation Institute at Arizona State University. And I'm responsible for overseeing the creation of curriculum and instruction for the Verizon Innovative Learning Program. And before that, I was a teacher, so bringing kind of all of my teaching and excitement for drones into this space.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kim. And Pete, why don't you tell us a little about you?
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me. My name's Pete Phimphavong. I'm the owner of RektDrones here in Mesa, Arizona. We do everything from service and sell all types of drones from little micro tiny whoops all the way up to DJI Enterprise. And we also, we're a big ambassador of the FPV community, and we also host a weekly whoop race every Thursday nights here at the shop. And so some of my background is I've been flying FPV for about 5 years now, and just got bit by the bug, and somehow I ended up with a shop. So here we are.
That's awesome. And Pete, you guys were involved last year when we had the live event and you came out and did some demo. So I want to start talking about the FPV side of things. One, because I think people love watching those little drones go by. And so talk to me a little bit more about those whoop drones that you have and those races that you guys put together.
Sure. So what we have is we have this little thing. This is called a tiny whoop. It's kind of a brand name, kind of like Kleenex or Q-tips, but there's all sorts of different brands of these. The stipulation that it is a 31 millimeter ducted frame. You can run brushed or brushless, and you can see it has a little camera on it. So what we do is we're able to navigate the course by wearing these type of virtual reality goggles that'll allow the pilots to see from the aspect of the cockpit of the actual whoop itself. And then you need a radio like this to be able to control through the course when you're going through the course. Things like that. They are a little bit more tricky to get started with compared to if you're coming from more of the aerial cinematic style drones like the DJI drones. So there's a little bit of a learning curve for it. The good thing is that with these radios, you can plug it into a simulator and kind of get, your bearings for a few hours and kind of work things out. But we have all ages that come out and fly with us. I think right now our youngest is 11 and our oldest is, I believe, about 55. So.
No, that's awesome. And they're, they look small and they are small, but they're definitely not the cheap product that you would find at your typical retail store. Like, talk to me about the way they handle, the way you can fly them with precision versus some of those cheaper ones.
Right. So the good thing about these are pretty much hobby grade as opposed to toy grade drones. They have come down in price. So these are actually under $100 for the whoop itself, but you still would need the radio and goggles. We do have a kit for about $205 that comes with everything that you need. But yeah, Chris, so these things pretty much fly a lot better than they used to. They have F4 processing boards on them now. They used to have F3 boards, so there was a lot of latency. They didn't really fly the way you wanted it to. Nowadays, you can tune them up. You can plug it into a computer and set up, your rates. You can set up exactly how you like it to fly. So you have a lot more control And I think what that leads up to is a lot of the, racing guys from like car racing or things like that they like to hot rod their machines. I think they like the getting into these because it can really mod it out to what they like.
And you mentioned earlier that a few years back you got hit by the bug. So talk to me about what that was for you. What attracted you to that?
Well, some of my background, Chris, is that when I was young, I wanted to be a pilot. My dad was a combat pilot, and so I kind of grew up in aviation, and he would take me to all the air shows and municipal airports and go up flying with him and all that. And then I guess life just happened. I never ended up going that route. And about 5 years ago, I found out about drones, and I bought my first toy drone, a little SEMA. Lasted me about a week, and I knew right away what I wanted to do. And so that's here we are.
That's awesome. So Kim, let's switch it over to you and talk to me about some of the things that you do with drones and the kids, and how do you use those drones to teach those kids?
So the great thing about drones is there are so many things you can do with them in education, from using the Tello EDUs, which are programmable. And the great thing is with the EDUs, if you've got 3 or more, you can actually program them to swarm. So if you saw the openings at the Olympics last year, that was a drone swarm. At the Super Bowl, they've done them. At concerts, they do them. But now students are able to take those little tellos and do that themselves. The other great thing with the programmable ones is it opens the door to getting kids interested in coding. Coding is kind of old school. People aren't that interested in it. But when you say you can code a drone, now kids all of a sudden want to do it. With the bigger drones, there's so many things you could do with it. And I'm really trying to develop a program where we can implement design thinking with drones, and also using things like sensors and 3D printers, and giving students challenges or having them finding challenges in their communities that drones could address. So you and I were talking about, before we started this, about the drones that have been developed to drop the seed pods to reforest. So having students come up, giving them those kind of challenges, and from everywhere from them figuring out, okay, what would work best? What kind of sensors do we need? What do we need to 3D print to put on the drone to carry it around? And really teaching them that drones are not just toys, but they can be tools to help solve problems in the world, and to start looking at it from that perspective, and really also to look around the world around them and realize that they're the future and they're the ones that can solve our problems. And if they could do it with drones, even better. And well, Pete, I have one of your kits. I'm hooked on the little drones.
I remember.
Well, I just know as a kid, if back when I was in school, they used drone to teach anything about science, I think I would have paid a little bit more attention. So right. Talk to me, Kim, about the response from the kids when you introduce them to their drones.
So the first time I really got to use them in this program is I went out on a visit to go to one of our schools in Pennsylvania, and a drone had been donated to them. And so we walked in the door, and we're supposed to be training teachers, and the teacher pulls out and she says, "We got this. What do we do with it?" My coworker looked at me and he said, "You go play with the drone. I'll teach the teachers." So I took a group of kids outside, and it was really funny because the ones who started following me were the boys. And there were a group of girls sitting in there around some of the other makerspace equipment that they have. And I looked at them, I said, "Don't you guys want to fly?" And they're like, "Well, let the boys do it." And I'm like, let's go. And so we went out, and this was Pennsylvania in January, and it was like 13 degrees outside. But we went out, and I started teaching. First, you teach them safety, because they need to know the rules and everything around, especially because they were flying a little Mavic Air. Don't stick your fingers in the props, don't fly it over people, don't go over 400 feet, all of your general rules. So then I opened up the drone, put it down, showed them how to calibrate the compass and everything. Then I handed over the controls to a girl. I said, okay, now fly it. And she just looked at me. She goes, what? I said, fly it. She's like, well, I can't do that. I'm like, why not? And she's like, I've never done it before. I said, before you could walk, did you walk? Had you ever walked? And so she finally, and I kind of stood off to the side, and she started it up and launched it, and it took off, and it got about light level, and she's going, I'm like, breathe. And I said, let's just make this simple. Let's take it up a little bit above everybody's head. Let's move it away. And let's just practice doing some real simple things. So I showed her all the controls, and she moved it around. And then I'm like, okay, now fly around the baseball field. And so then she started flying it. And she's just quivering with excitement. She's like, that's so cool. I'm flying it. Then she's like grabbing the remote, going, look, I'm flying. And so then it became a battle of who was going to fly next, because now all the boys are like, well, yeah, let me fly. And so then they started doing it, and they were flying it. And we stayed out there until we ran out of the 3 batteries we had in 13 degrees weather, and nobody complained. So the next day when I came back, before I even got in the door, the kids were there. Miss Kim, can we fly the drone again?
That's good.
And we were back outside flying it. And so then by the end of the day, one of the things, we're flying it, and I started asking them questions. What could you do with the drone? What could it be used for? What kind of careers could you do with drones? So then we started having the discussions that it's not just being a drone pilot, engineering and building drones, designing drones, learning how to manage drones, being in any business and figuring out how you can take those drones and apply it to that business, because a lot of people aren't aware that drones are used in supply chain management. Companies like Amazon use them to go along and read bar scanners, and they're able to get inventory much quicker. Drones are able to be used to inspect towers and things like that, things that the humans used to do that they were slower at, but it was also dangerous. And so the kids just really started thinking about it and realizing that there's so many things that you can do with drones. And one of the kids is like, we could use this with math. If we put lights on it, we could draw stuff for geometry.
Wow.
And just some of the things they came up with. But I think that the greatest thing about using the drones with the kids is that it gets them excited. No matter what you're teaching them, and I could literally use drones to teach any subject, it gets the kids' interest. They're excited. It's fun. It's something new. But they also learn a skill, and especially when they fly the bigger drones, like even a Mavic Air to them is a big drone, because they're used to seeing the little $40 Walmart things. And when they realize they flew it, they could control it, that sense of pride and confidence that they get is just amazing. And so that's why I really love working with the kids with drones.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.